Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In our first story, Karen refused to prepay, leading to a misunderstanding. Karen called the police, but the officer realized the whole truth. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Officer, he won't refund me cash for my gas. From my gas station days in 2013. About a year into working there, my station joined in several others to switch over to prepay-only pumps. I personally would see drive-offs a few times every time I worked, so I was happy to see the change. Customers, however, resisted the change as much as they could, from threatening to not get gas here anymore to get me to turn on the pump for them, because our system still allowed it for semi-truck drivers that use special cards to pay. One day, a lady I'd never seen before, our Karen, pulls up to the pump and grabs the nozzle, expecting me to turn on the pump for her. I announce over the speakers the same speech I've been giving everyone that won't read the prepay signs on the pumps and continue to wait on other customers in my line. She ignores me at first, but hangs up the nozzle after a minute and makes her way into the store. I finish the customer between her and me, and she starts in at me about not letting her get gas outside. I politely tell her we're a prepay-only store now, and she'll have to put money into a pump before getting her gas. She seems confused at first, but we get through the transaction with her putting in $30 unleaded onto a debit card, and she heads out to pump her fuel. She doesn't put the whole $30 into her vehicle and heads back in to speak to me. After I get the customers in between me and her, she wants the cash for the fuel she didn't use. Now it's my bad for forgetting to tell her gas prepays on any card are automatically refunded once the nozzle is hung back up onto the pump. I tell her this, and I have no way to give her cash back from the transaction, mentioning it may take a day for the refund to appear on her bank statement. She gets mad, demanding I give her cash for the fuel. I repeat myself, apologizing for the misunderstanding, and say she still has the money, it's just on her card. She leaves the store, and I think I'm done with her. Nope. I continue on my work in between helping customers in the store for several minutes, and I look outside. A cop has pulled up to Karen's car, and she's talking to him, occasionally pointing at the store, and I already see the headache coming. I tell my coworker to run register as the cop comes in, and he asks to speak to me. I greet him and ask what he needs. He informs me that Karen called the cops saying we were refusing to give her her money back for the fuel while really being rude to her. I tell her what happened, how refunds for gas work, and if he wishes, he can come back with me to the cameras and watch the footage. He says that's okay and he'll inform her of what actually happened. I don't see the cop and lady talk as a rush hits the store then, but one of my regulars saying that the lady flipped me off after she got into her car so the cop wouldn't see her do it. And our second story. Regular customer wants me to break store policy just for her. Okay, for a bit of context, I work for a chain of stores that sells clothing, homewares, and food. I work in one of the stores that's a food hall only, but customers can order clothing/homeware items online and have them sent to our store for pickup. In there, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. I'll often work the click and collect desk and fill shelves, but 9 times out of 10, I do the food reductions. Food items going out of date that day will get reduced to about 85 to 90% of their original price first thing in the morning. They'll then get reduced again at about 2 p.m. to about 50% of their original price by me. Our food is pretty decent, but also pretty pricey, so as you can imagine, I often accumulate a fan club that follows me around the store. Because of this, our store policy is to not reduce things that are handed to us by customers. We'll take the item off the shelf, reduce it, and it goes back onto the shelf. That's it. Folks will always still try and chance their arm, though. It's shocking the amount of times things have been grabbed out of my hands. This policy is mainly for staff members. It's more efficient as we're not wasting time reducing a Karen's entire trolley of bargains that she's piled up. That, and it stops customers arguing with us, accusing us of favoritism and all that. They will still argue with each other, though. That's always entertaining. Okay, so to the Karen in question. She's a sweet old lady with a walking stick that comes into the store with her husband. She's a regular that knows a lot of the staff and is lovely and chatty to them. Not me, though. For some godforsaken reason, she just doesn't like me. I'm not blowing my own trumpet or anything, but I'm a very pleasant member of staff. I'm always smiley, helpful, and cheerful, even to the customers that don't really deserve it. So she always seems to start ridiculous, silly arguments with me. On one occasion, she came to me at Click and Collect for her parcel. Unfortunately, it was delayed, which can often happen when there's sales on or it's Christmas and they get backed up with orders. I explained this to her when she started to get enraged that her order that she wanted to pick up today was not here today. Every time I explain company policy, store policy, reasons for issues, she always barks the same thing at me. I know. I used to work at another branch of our store, which I never understood because if she knows, then why is she yelling at me? The other day, however, I was doing my afternoon reductions, and I see her from the corner of my eye marching towards me with her walking stick, and she sticks a microwave meal under my nose. Old Karen, are you reducing this again? Gonna do this one for me? Me, oh, I'm sorry, I can only reduce things that I find on the shelf. Karen, I'm not putting it on the shelf. It's the only one. Someone will take it. Me, sorry, it's up to you if you'd like to do that. Karen huffs at me and turns to her husband. Karen to husband, go get Kevin to do it. Name changed, Kevin is one of my colleagues that recently came from another store that Karen is chatty with. If Kevin comes to me with that item to reduce, he's politely getting told where to go. I continue with my route around the store. I'm coming down an aisle when I see Karen poking her head around the corner watching me. They put the microwave meal back on the shelf, but now they're guarding it until I get there. Unfortunately for them, this aisle was full of reductions and I was in no rush. Karen, excuse me, she's yelling down the aisle at me now. Are you coming here next? Me, I'm making my way around the store. I'll be at that fridge in about 5 to 10 minutes. She wasn't happy with this. She made sure her husband was stationed protecting the microwave meal and she came marching towards me. Karen, do you know you're the only one in here that refuses me? Me, I'll have to let management know that, but I'm sorry. Store policy. Karen, I know. I used to work in other branch. I know all about the policy. You'd think you'd be decent and see that I'm poorly and need to get home. I can't stand around for a long time waiting on you. Me, I'm sorry, but I can't do it for you and not everyone else. That's not fair. Karen, no, it's not fair that I have to stand here waiting in a cold shop when I just want to go home. Me, I'm sorry, but you don't have to wait. It's still reduced. It's still a nice wee bargain. Keep in mind that as a retired ex-employee, she still gets a 20% staff discount on top of this reduction, so it'll still be a wee bargain for her. She marches back to her husband. I calm my bubbling anger and continue down the aisle. If you're wondering why I don't just break store policy like the other staff, well, I've done it once and was immediately caught a scolding by management. I do this job 5 to 7 days a week so that others rarely do it, never get caught. That I'm hoping to train the customers like puppies. If I consistently say no, they'll eventually learn. That's the hope. When I finally get to the fridge being guarded by the old couple, I think, right, I'll do their item first and get them out of my face, but I can't see it in the fridge, and I'll tell you why. Karen is sitting in the fridge. Yep, her whole entire butt is in the fridge. She's too delicate to be in the cold shop any longer, but she's fine to sit in a fridge? And unbeknownst to me, her meal that she desperately wants is actually under her butt, and I'm not going to start rummaging around for it. I reduce the other items that I can see and start to move on. Karen, are we getting this or not? She barks at me. She stands up and points at the meal she'd been keeping warm. Me, sorry, I didn't see it there. I reduce it and put it back on the shelf and she snatches it up. Just be careful sitting on the fridges like that. The fridge edges aren't very strong and you could have fallen and hurt yourself. Karen, and whose fault would that have been? And she stomped off. I swiftly had a rant at management to better train the other staff that handle reductions because I should not be getting treated like that for following store policy. Management agreed with me, but I know full well that nothing will get done about it. However, my reason for posting this is that old Karen was in the store again today, stomping around with her reduced meal looking for whoever was doing reductions today. It was me. Upon seeing me with my trolley, she stopped and stared at me. I gave her a friendly smile, but she glared back at me before stomping up to the till to buy her unreduced item. Turns out you can train customers like puppies. LOL. And our last story. Neighbor threatening to sue us over wheelchair ramp. My boyfriend has mobility issues and uses either a wheelchair or crutches depending on his pain levels. I've done a lot of home improvement projects to ensure he can get around my house easily, including a wheelchair ramp up to my front door. My front door is really recessed from the street due to my lawn and hidden by my porch, so the ramp isn't very visible from the street. I painted it to match the house as well. A few months ago, a new family moved across the street, and the wife's never been very friendly with me like my other neighbors are, which I chalked up to her being shy or whatever. However, recently I got a note taped to my door that said she's going to sue if I don't take the ramp down, as it's an eyesore and reduces curbside value. I have no idea what she means, since you can't see the thing unless you know what to look for and really get up in my property, as confirmed by neighbors and friends. She refused to answer the door when I went over to talk to her about it. I'm trying not to lose my temper over this, but it's hard. There's been many times my boyfriend has been screwed over by so-called handicap accessible places. I don't want my home to be one of them. So I put up a bunch of cameras around my property and hung up a "Smile, you're on camera" sign right after my first post. I also lit up the ramp some more, which I was already planning on doing because of trick-or-treaters. I'm excited to say my neighbor's husband personally came over to apologize to me, which I caught on camera. He claimed his wife is stressed over their new baby, which, okay, and promised not to bother us anymore. I suspect one of the neighbors I talked to read him the riot act. I accepted the apology, but am keeping the number of a lawyer close by, and the cameras are always rolling. Dislike being so paranoid, but what are you going to do? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.